Sadly for the bald man, the rat grabs his leg as he moves and holds onto it firmly. He is confused and has no idea what to do as he screams out, while more of the rats emerge and begin to drag him down to the depths of their sewage. He struggles and yells at the rats to let him go, but there is no hope for him. He tries his best to escape and claws at the ground, but the monsters hold him firmly. The other brother watches and calls out to the man getting dragged down, while the little girl holds onto his shoulders. Tears run through their eyes as they watch him get dragged into who knows where. There is nothing they can do, and as their brother is taken to his death, he tells them not to worry about him, trying to ease their minds as the monsters take him away. He tells the little brother to take care of the little girl, and his voice gradually fades out as the rats finally pull him away. The rats retreat to their depths to continue their meal, as the two keep calling for their lost brother. On the other hand, Tien is completely exhausted. He doesn't look like he can still keep up with holding the rats back. There are injuries all across his face, and his mouth is bleeding badly. His eye bags are so heavy, and it looks like he's about to collapse. The faction leader realizes that the whole thing is too much for him, and he looks like he is about to pass out. Sachin needs to show up fast and do something, or it's all going to be over. With the little strength he has left, he keeps trying to fight back the rats. He slashes the monsters as they approach him, but he has already reached his limit. The rats can't give up a chance to attack weak prey, so more of them swarm him. At this point, Tien is basically seeing Jesus already. He is beyond exhausted. He can barely keep his eyes open. His arms give out, and it looks like it's finally the end for him. After the last of his energy leaves, he accepts his fate. Yun as well is being overrun by the monsters. The monsters climb all over her and bite her body, causing her to wince and cry out in pain. The buildings all around her keep taking damage as she jumps around in pain. Dana doesn't have it much easier either. The rat monsters run towards her, and she says that it is impossible to block out or mind control all of them. Tianua looks towards the sky, and he notices a black figure at the top of the building. The strange figure leaps from the roof and suddenly lands in front of all of them with a menacing aura. As it lands, it kills some of the filthy rats and sends them packing. It has a dark face and a bright, sinister-looking grin. The shadow's aura is immensely powerful, and Tien is frozen on the spot out of fear. He shouts that it must be the Rat King and thinks it is the end for him. Dana almost starts to cry as she thinks Sachin might have failed to defeat the Rat King. It's almost impossible to believe that he somehow failed his mission, despite how powerful he is. The monster then speaks to them and tells them not to be afraid. The former chef can tell that the voice belongs to Sachin, and she is able to calm down for a bit. The dark aura around him clears from his face, and it reveals that it really is our protagonist. Despite their fears, he managed to take down the Rat King and absorb his power. Although the remaining consciousness in the crystal core wants to devour him, thanks to his sharp mental strength, he is managing to hold it back. When in a tough situation, he isn't going to lose a battle of mental strength. He has a wicked smile on his face as the shadow slowly fades away from his body. Tianua is glad to finally see his brother again. Sachin thanks the faction leader for all the hard work he has done and how he managed to hold back the horde until the Rat King was defeated. Just as the shadow fades from his body, the mutated rats all fix their eyes on him. Now that a new threat has joined the party, they look eager to feast. They all rush towards him from behind, hoping to catch him off guard and overwhelm him. Tianua warns him to be careful as he sees the monsters rushing towards him. Nevertheless, Sachin is unfazed and slightly turns his head to tell the monsters to get lost. With a devilish glare in his eyes, the rats stop in their tracks instantly, and the anger in Sachin's gaze causes them all to scurry away. They turn to run, clearly terrified of going up against our man. All of them look like they have just seen a ghost. The barriers that are meant to hold back the mutated rats end up being their escape route, as they squeeze their bodies to get through the little holes. The others escape through their underground tunnels, and the rest go through the vents. The rest of the human survivors can't believe their eyes. They wonder what has caused the rats to suddenly get scared and run away. Now with the battle over, it seems like they just barely made it through the whole ordeal. Even though Suchin isn't the Rat King, the remaining power of the crystal core is enough to intimidate the rat men into retreating. If he hadn't made it back in time, they would have just kept on coming out of every corner and attacking them. But there's no time to celebrate just yet. Tianhua starts to cough violently, now that his body is going through withdrawals from the scientist's drug. Suchin rushes to hold up his brother as the man looks ready to fall over and faint. It looks like the drugs that the scientist has been giving them are also a type of poison. It gives immense strength, just like they thought, but the more power they use, the deeper the poison effect. Suchin desperately asks Yunyun what he can do to help his friend. She tells him that in Luhan's lab, there is a corpse that has the answer to their problems. If he can get to it and extract a sample of its blood, then they can use it to make a serum that should be able to neutralize the poison. With a clear mission in mind, Suchin heads back into the lab to try and find the monster that Yunyun described. He reaches a door deep in the building where he found the Rat King and wonders if this is the place that Yunyun mentioned earlier. As soon as he gets there, he notices that there is a strong, oppressing aura oozing from behind the door. Something unnatural is behind that door, and he can feel it just from outside. With no other options, he opens the door, allowing what seems to be stale, frozen air that is in the lab to leak outside. He notices that walking into the room feels like stepping into a black hole. As he walks in, he seems to pass through a thin barrier blocking the entrance of the lab. He breaks through it but can't believe the feeling that it gives him. To him, it feels like he has passed through a wall of pure mental power. He analyzes his body to see if anything has changed, but there is none. He glances ahead and becomes confused about who he is staring at. From what Yunyun told him, there are supposed to be only corpses in the lab. But instead of a rotting corpse, he sees a lady sitting and working on the computer in front of her. From how she greets him, it's almost like she expected him to come and meet her. The lady turns and refers to him as her classmate, Lu. Suchin is confused as to why she is calling him Lu. She must be mistaken. After all, he looks nothing like that madman. He turns to look at himself in the reflection of one of the lab machines, but he sees that he really does look like Li Hyun. He immediately realizes that this must be some sort of illusion, and he has to wake up quickly. For now, though, all he can do is play along with the trick. He greets the older woman, calling her Professor Xiao, and she invites him to come and take a seat. Suchin assumes that he has entered Lu Hun's memories as well, since he seems to be reliving his past experiences. Xiao then takes off her jacket, and he asks her what she is doing. She tells him that the lab is really stuffy, and she needs to cool off. On the table beside them is a crab that is being experimented on. Lu explains to her that a common parasite is found in these crabs. She confirms it and says that it is a strange creature that uses its host to protect itself while coexisting with it at the same time. It's a parasitic organism called a susana, and that's what both of them are trying to research with the crab, or at least, they were supposed to be doing that. Until Professor Xiao gets a better idea. As they look closer, Xiao asks if he finds the creature interesting, as she rests against his back and starts feeling his chest. Lu is trying his best to keep his cool composure. She isn't making it easy for him at all, considering how revealing her clothes are. She continues to rub his chest, making him more nervous as well. The moment gets more heated when she leans in on him and says that she doesn't expect him to be so knowledgeable and also have a good physique as well. Lu gives a sly smile and looks like he is ready to make the best out of his current situation. He turns his seat around, and Xiao sits on his lap, almost looking like she's trying to push him down. He tells her that she must have dressed so provocatively to try and influence him, and he's not one to look past an opportunity with a beautiful woman. She says that she prefers to practice some chemistry with him rather than work on the experiment, and the moment gets especially heated between the two. The chair Lu is sitting on is making squeaking noises as the two of them are having their fun. As they continue to fool around in the lab, Lu pins the professor against the glass window. At that moment, she looks outside and notices that the moon is looking a little strange. It's the day that the apocalypse begins, and the moon releases its blindingly hot burst into the room, directly on the couple, and they both happen to not be wearing much clothing. Suddenly, they are surrounded by a blazing hot fire. She screams and asks for the curtains to be closed quickly. The heat is too much for them to bear, and they wonder when it will all end. The room of fun is turned into a survival hole, and the two of them try to ration the little supplies left in the lab. After some time, Shia tells Lu that they are running low on food, but she is going to take the last snacks they have. There is a small bag of junk food that would only be able to last for one person. Lu gets furious as she takes it and slaps her away before she can touch it. He stares down at her menacingly as he tells her that the supplies are more valuable than her life. The scientist looks like something has possessed him, and you could see the furious rage in his eyes. The professor shakes in fear and apologizes for taking the food, saying that she is too hungry. She can't believe her eyes when he picks up a sharp knife and decides that if he hurries up, then he will be able to get the rest of the food in her stomach that hasn't digested yet. He plans to cut her open and salvage whatever meal he can find inside her. With a firm swipe of the dagger, her blood is sprayed everywhere in the room. Zhao's dead body lies on the floor while Li is glad that he has found some food, despite the fact that it is all in her stomach. Later on, he also says that the rats from earlier have evolved after eating her flesh, although their crazy evolution is far from perfect. Then, when he starts with his experiments and while using her blood, he is able to make a serum and finds out that it can detoxify the poison. But what surprises him the most is that her body is still alive and still changing. He sees her as the perfect research specimen to work on and decides to use her to create something amazing. Looking closer at the data he gets, he is amazed by it and considers it to be really incredible. According to him, it wouldn't even be an exaggeration to call it a doomsday gene. As Shia's decaying body hangs in chains in the lab, he smiles as he tells her to expect more surprises from him, since she just won't die. Then he revs up a chainsaw while laughing crazily and proceeds to cut her up some more. Xiao, who barely looks human anymore, asks if he has found the crystal core that he has been searching for and encourages him to eat it. While he holds a crystal core in his hands and continues his maniacal laughter, she asks him why he is hesitating so much. But Lu comes back to his senses and tells her that he won't eat it because it's just a piece of rotten meat. He shatters the crystal core, which surprises her, and asks him how he found out. Slowly, Lu's image fades and Suchin's face is revealed. He says that if he truly had a crystal core in his hand, she would have died long ago. She curses the fact that Suchin had managed to escape. She had finally found a suitable human for her goals, and she was just one step away from victory, but it all got taken away by our main character's insane mental fortitude. Suchin slowly reaches for her head and says that he is going to open up her brain, but she tells him to wait. She starts crying out in anger and desperation, telling him that she is just a poor woman who'd been hurt. Then she tells him that if he wants her power, then she is willing to give it to him as long as he lets her go. Suchin looks at her in pity for a moment and reminds her that once a Solina enters a host, then it takes over the host's consciousness. With that in mind, there's no reason for him to let her into his mind. After that, he grabs her head and she tries to beg one last time, but Suchin isn't moved. He squishes her head, causing her blood to spill everywhere. Her body starts to fade away slowly, and he wonders if it is due to the absence of the crystal core. With the crystal core finally in his possession, he is glad that there is no problem this time. Seconds later, he remembers that his original goal was to get a sample of her blood. With Xia turned to ash, he wonders what will happen to the antidote he is searching for. Thankfully, he realizes that there must be samples of the antidote in the lab somewhere. It is said that once the crab parasite takes hold of its host, it will form root-like branches in the host, connecting various parts of the host's body and controlling their behavior. The parasitic relationship eventually results in the host becoming a slave to the crab parasite. Now, with the university completely cleared out, dozens of refugees are left wandering the streets, looking for a new home. Thankfully, the flood waters have receded, which means that streets are clear for them to travel through, but it also means that the corpses that were originally under the water have begun to mutate once more. As the group walks through the empty streets, they are told to stop looking around and to keep walking in order not to waste time. Yun Yun is noticeably nervous and scared, and she asks Dua where Suchin is taking all the medical students. DNA tells her that the escaped mutant rat men are lurking around the University of Science and Technology, and it is no longer suitable for human survival. The surviving medical students are scarce talents during the apocalypse, so Suchin plans to take them to the safe zone area in the next town. Yoon is upset because they still have a long way to walk, and she is already getting really hungry. She decides that she needs to go and find Suchin in hopes that he will give her something to eat, but Daya holds her back and tells her that she isn't allowed to go. Yoon wonders why Daya is being so overprotective and holding her back from getting food, but for the former chef, it's more than that. Daya then tells her that since she is following them, she has to be obedient and do whatever she is told. Daya remembers a time when Suchin once stood over her as she sat vulnerable on the floor. At that time, she was wondering what had gotten into him because he was acting strange. Suchin had a fiery look in his eyes as he grabbed her and told her not to be afraid. He was just a little hot, and he needed to cool off by any means necessary. She couldn't believe it when he suddenly kissed her, but she didn't back out of it either. After that, her body started to feel weird, and the two of them started to fool around in the midst of a night of heavy rain. Back to the present, Daya thinks about how wild Suchin became after that moment they shared. She starts to wonder if it is a side effect of the crystal cores that he absorbs. As the group continues moving through the city, Suchin says that after the flood recedes, bacteria, viruses, and even plants will start to undergo major mutations. Many resettlement areas will also start to collapse due to a lack of doctors. Doctors are really scarce at the time, and if they are able to make good use of the doctors they have, then they will be able to establish their own resettlement area. Apart from being able to get their own area, even if multiple forces emerge in the future, he also believes that they will have the capital to fight against them. In addition to that, the harvest at that time was good because Yun found a method of making serums and recovery potions. Suchin believes that after Tenon and the others are done recovering, they will be able to give him a helping hand when needed. Thanks to his space ability, he was able to store all the research equipment and materials from the laboratory building within his dimensional space. He then wonders about the rat's crystal core that he absorbed. Not only did it enhance his berserker ability, it also increased his physical strength. The crystal core also gives him ice powers, and although he can only condense a little ice right now, he is determined to find a way to increase it in the future. As if he isn't overpowered enough, the crystal core of the half-body female mutant also adds more abilities to his arsenal. Her crystal core gives him 2 psychic abilities, but he is upset that he didn't get the power to create illusions. Tenon notices a weird sound coming from around them, and the others get very nervous. Suchin activates his first psychic skill, which is spiritual perception. The ability probably came from the corpse's appetite for blood. His eyes turn to a sharp red color, and he grows a very intimidating aura, which allows him to see the heat signatures from the blood of living things about 30 meters around him. It is like he has turned into a heat-seeking radar. He then notices that the members of the Devourer clan are preparing to ambush them. He can see the numerous mutated people hiding in the buildings and waiting for the right time to strike. One of the members of Suchin's group sees something frightening and tells everyone else to look up towards where he is pointing. Above them, they can see a female who has been hung on the traffic light pole, and a girl among them notices that the person hung is known as Rui Rue, a former roommate of hers. She tells the guys to hurry up and save Rui Rue before it is too late. It is a life that needs saving, and she can't stand seeing her friend in such a humiliating state. One of the guys attempts to go and save the girl, but Suchin stops him and tells him to mind his business. Suchin then tells his group to keep moving and stop wasting time. The girl can't believe how cold-blooded he is. She wonders if Suchin is even still human because it doesn't make sense that he would just watch someone die when there is still a chance to save her. Other people start to speak up, and they accuse Suchin of not being a man at all. They decide to stay back and help, since they can't just stand by and watch someone die before their eyes. The girl orders them to put Rui Rue down quickly so that she can give her medical attention. Some of the men move to the traffic pole quickly and begin loosening the rope in order to rescue her. As they are loosening the ropes, arrows rain down on them and manage to pierce through most of the guys, killing them instantly. The sudden turn of events causes the once confident girl to shiver in fear. All of them can't believe that they just lost 2 innocent souls in an attempt to save 1 person. They finally realize it is a trap, but it's much too late for them to escape. 2 other guys burst out from the windows above them with axes. They quickly surround the girl and the guy she is with. The 2 men from the Devourer clan are as tall as mountains, and they tower over the group of people who tried to save their friend. One of the Devourer brutes grabs a girl by her face and licks her cheek to get a taste of her. Then he rubs his hand all over her body and calls his companion to come and have some fun with her first. The girl is scared senseless as she looks at the monstrosity that grabbed her head. She begs him to let her go, but there is no use. Her friend tries to fight for her, and he demands that the Devourer let her go, but he doesn't see the other enemy rushing towards him with an axe. The man is slaughtered in an instant, and his blood gets splattered everywhere as he dies. The brute tells him to accept his fate as food. The girl, however, isn't as lucky to have a quick death. The man rips her shirt apart and suggests that they keep her to breed instead of eating her immediately. The screams manage to reach Suchin's group as they continue their march towards the safe zone. She asks him if the woman who was left hanging was used as bait, and he confirms it. But even though they've gotten what they want from the other group, that doesn't mean that they are safe yet. In fact, they are already surrounded by Devourers. The guys start to panic and look around, hoping to find the attackers before they jump out. Suchin, however, is as calm as usual, since this is a perfect chance for him to test out his latest ability, Corpse Control. He activates it, causing his eyes to glow a bright purple, and immediately several undead corpses start to march out of an alleyway to attack the Devourers hiding away in the buildings. This is the perfect time to make the people about to ambush them know the feeling of being ambushed themselves. Clan is immediately attacked by the rampaging horde of mutated corpses controlled by Suchin. They have no time at all to react, but they are still able to cut through most of them like paper. These things are nothing but distractions, getting in their way, and the 2 brutes manage to rip and tear through them with ease, sending the rest of them back and knocking out the larger group like bowling pins. But in their tussle with the mutated corpses, Suchin and the others manage to leave undetected. The 2 brutes can't accept that, and they jump out of the building they were fighting in, down to the streets, to try and chase after them. As soon as they land, they see Sun calmly waiting for them with his hands in his pocket. They fell right for his trap, and now there's no hope of them escaping anywhere. The 2 brutes are excited that there's one more person waiting to die, and they decide to kill him first. But Suchin isn't bothered. It's too bad that the Devourers don't have crystal cores, otherwise he would have personally taken them out. Since they aren't worth his time, then he'll let the mutated corpses play with them instead. As he says that, several zombies rush out of their hiding places and surround them again. This time, the numbers are way too large for them to just brush off like they did before, and they are forced to fight for their lives. Meanwhile, in Hen, Suchin's group of survivors finally makes it to the safe zone they've been traveling to this entire time. A loud voice asks them what they are doing and why they are trespassing in their safe zone, and Dananya, who's leading the group, responds that they are travelers from the University of Science and Technology seeking refuge in the safe zone. Suddenly, a man leaps off the top of a building and lands in front of them. The man has a threatening aura and does not look happy to see them. Apparently, they don't accept trash in this place, and anyone who he doesn't recognize is trash. So, he tells them all to get lost. DNA tries to use her mind control powers on him and asks him what gives him the right to deny them entry when this is a safe zone. But her powers don't seem to work on him. For a moment, it looks like he's under her control, but he's able to snap himself out of it with a few light taps to his head. Dua realizes, way too late, that this man must be an able user just like them. The brute raises his axe and leaps into the air to finish them off, but someone jumps in to defend them. Just before the large man can land a hit on DW, it's Xiao Fang, and just like usual, he's fighting to protect people. He tells the larger man, whom he calls Captain Sun, that these people are only seeking refuge and there is no need to attack them. Sun doesn't care, since these clearly aren't normal people. After all, normal people wouldn't be able to make it through the Devourer clan's territory so easily. He suspects that they must be spies sent from the Devourer clan to infiltrate them. At this accusation, Suchin finally appears from behind the group to meet his old friend. He tells the brutish captain's son that if he doesn't want them, then he will just take the dozens of doctors he brought along with him to another safe zone. That catches all the guards' attention. They didn't realize that there were doctors in the group. It's very rare for a single doctor to survive for so long in the apocalypse, and they managed to bring dozens of them all at once. Xiao Fang is excited to see Suchin again and realizes that these must not be ordinary survivors from the wasteland. With his old friend there, these can't be spies from the Devourers either. He decides to swear on his life that these people are his allies and that he will personally take care of them. Since Suchin is in the group, if he says there are dozens of doctors, then he can't be lying. With what Suchin has pulled off in the past, Xiao Fang would believe him even if he said he had thousands of doctors with his own soldiers. With his words backing them, Captain Sun has no choice but to let them in. After all, if they have doctors with them, then they no longer have to bury patients alive anymore, and the sick among them can get proper treatment. Captain Sun walks away, clearly disappointed that he doesn't get to use his giant axe today, but before he leaves, he tells Xiao Fang that if these supposed doctors can't cure the patients, then he will have to take responsibility for the consequences since he's the one that vouched for them. With the captain's permission, the other soldiers lead Suchin's group into the safe zone, while Xiao Fang hangs back to apologize to his old friend. He asks our protagonist not to take offense and tells him that Captain Sun is just like that. Suchin isn't bothered, however. After all, he has dealt with his own fair share of annoying people throughout the apocalypse. Putting that aside, he came with his large group of doctors at the right time. The safe zone has had some strange patients who definitely need a doctor's help. The soldier leads them to a warehouse deeper in the safe zone where they keep the dying and the ill together. In the very back of the warehouse, he shows them the corpse of one of the victims of the strange condition affecting the camp. It's a woman who looks like she has been long dead. Her body is covered by hundreds of small white mushrooms that look like they were growing straight out of her body. They don't know what is causing these things to grow, but cleaning them off only causes them to grow back faster. Each time, it makes the person weaker until they eventually pass on. Suchin immediately knows that she has been infected by some kind of mutated fungi. The plants are also mutating, as well as the people, which means that they can infect and control humans. He advises that they warn the others to be careful of young plant shoots and to make sure that they don't get pricked by them. Dana takes a closer look at the plants growing on the young woman's body and realizes that they are using her for nourishment. For now, all she can do is take a sample of it and try to analyze it so she can develop a cure or medicine for the infection. However, this is just the beginning of the rapid mutations that will take over the world. If these newly mutated plants aren't cleared out, they will quickly grow and start attacking humans. When that happens, the Devourer tribe will use the opportunity to attack the safe zones, and many people will become livestock for them. Because of that, the Devourer tribe will become stronger, and that definitely isn't in Suchin's best interest, which means that he has to do his best to protect this safe zone so he can use it for his own needs in the future. For now, though, it would be best for him to check out the situation and make sure that everything is secured. As he's considering his next move, a loud noise comes from somewhere else in the safe zone. It sounds like a van, and someone on top of it is shouting for people to get out of the way. It's the Lord's son, and he's driving recklessly through the streets. On top of that, he's firing a gun in the safe zone and attacking innocent people for no reason. Despite all of that, Shang's team isn't doing anything to stop him. The soldier tells Suchin that his team has already been disbanded. It's probably because they let the newcomers into the city despite the warnings from Captain Sunday. On top of that, this isn't the first time that the city lord's son has caused chaos in the city. He believes that the elderly and children don't matter, and they are useless to the safe zone. Because of that, he casually goes around running them over and shooting them down, and because of his status, there's nothing they can do about it. As he's driving, he notices Yun Yun, who's looking over an injured person lying limp on the street. He pulls his car to a stop beside her and cockily asks if she wants to get in his car with him. If she follows him, then he can take her to get something good to eat. Yun Yun slowly gets up and tells him that she's so hungry that she can't walk anymore, so if he wants to take her out, then he's going to have to carry her. The Lord's son happily agrees and calls her over so he can carry her, while Sean gets ready to confront him. Suchin, however, holds him back, knowing exactly what Yunyun has planned for the Lord's son. As long as he can carry her, then he can take her wherever he wants. As soon as he agrees, Yunyun smiles deviously, then leaps off the ground into the man's waiting arms. But just before she lands, she grows rapidly to her largest size and smiles down at him as she falls. The Lord's son realizes the situation just in time and manages to avoid getting crushed by a giant woman. Her new size rips her jacket into pieces and makes her heavy enough to destroy the man's car. Unfortunately for him, he isn't fast enough to completely escape and ends up with a crushed leg. The noise of the crash alerts everyone else in the safe zone, and they make their way to the source to find out what happened. Meanwhile, the Lord's son screams as the pain from his broken leg hits him in full force. Yunyun looks down on him and coldly tells him that even when he's given the chance to prove himself, he still turns out useless. Then, she steps on his already broken leg with her giant foot, causing him to scream even louder. The sound attracts the soldiers from deeper in the zone, and they hurry to check on him and ask what happened. He immediately points an accusing finger at Yunyun, calling her a monster since she turned into a giant woman and broke his leg. DNA steps in and uses her mind control ability to warp the memories of the people around them, and they turn on him immediately. They tell the young master that he actually fell out of his car and broke his leg himself. Thanks to DNA's mind control, they all turn on him, and they are convinced that they saw him fall with their own eyes. The young master figures that they must all be involved in this somehow, and they all did this to set him up. With no other choice, he calls for his father, the Lord in control of the safe zone, to come and help him out of this mess. Captain Sun chuckles menacingly and figures that this interaction will be fun to watch. A car surrounded by dozens of soldiers pulls up to the scene of the incident as the young lord still sits on the ground unable to move. Suchin's group and Xiao Fang watches the city lord steps out of his car and demands to know what's going on. The way several people rush to answer him, plus the crowd of security that pulls up behind him, shows that the city lord has an air of importance around him. Xiaolong defends his friend and tells the city lord about Suchin and the fact that he brought dozens of doctors along with him to seek refuge in the shelter. Then, he starts to talk about the young lord and how he started to cause trouble around the place. But the younger man cuts in and demands that his father kill them all for breaking his leg. The lord doesn't pay attention to his son's ramblings and slaps him across the face as soon as he starts talking. It looks like he has already warned the chaotic kid about his actions, and he's aware of the things that happen while he isn't around. This isn't the first time that he has told his son to treat everyone that comes into the settlement with respect. His vision is to turn the safe zone into a beacon of hope in the apocalypse and to make everyone that comes to them feel some warmth. Because of his great dream, even his own son gets punished when he does wrong. That must mean that the city lord is a good man, and it's rare to find such a noble-hearted person in the apocalypse. At least that's what the crowd thinks, as they start to cheer for him and his good deeds. The city lord turns to them and personally invites them to stay with them and build a new dream together. Here, they will provide the best food and the most generous conditions to make sure that they all survive in the new hellish world. Xiaong turns to tell Suchin that, thanks to the city lord, his group can now stay without any problems. But his friend is already long gone, as are his two girlfriends. They left the city as soon as the city lord appeared to avoid any problems. It's unreasonable to think that he won't try to take some kind of revenge since Yunyun crippled his son. Because of that, the three of them have to sleep in the woods for the night. Yunyun nervously tells her new sister that it's the first time she has ever had to sleep outside. Surely Duanya must have some kind of experience since she has survived in the apocalypse for so long. The former chef tells Yunyun to stop thinking about unnecessary things. Besides, with Suchin around, who knows if they will even be able to sleep at all. Our protagonist comes up behind them and warns them to stop messing around. Someone is coming, and they need to be ready for an attack. Then he calls for the people hiding behind a pillar to come out and face them. It looks like they were trying to sneak up on the group without being detected, but Suchin already knew they were there a long time ago. They come out of their hiding spots and ask if Suchin thought he could hide so easily after breaking the young master's leg. There are dozens that surround them, and they tell him that there is no way for them to escape. But, unluckily for them, Sachin never planned to escape. He just didn't want to go on a killing spree in the city and end up accidentally hurting members of his friend's team. The men approach him and laugh at the fact that he's talking about a killing spree when he's clearly about to die. They decide not to waste any more time pointlessly talking so they can finish him off. Sachin casually annihilates one of the men approaching him with a single punch, causing the other men to realize exactly what he meant by killing spree. They open fire on the group in a panic, hoping to take him out quickly. But Sachin immediately pulls out his dual katanas and cuts through all of them in less than a second. The last man remaining begs for his life and tells Sachin that if he's spared, then he will reveal the secret about the city lord. Our protagonist pauses his sword just before it slices off the man's head, then tells him to continue. The man tells them that the city lord has close ties with the nearby Devourer clan. Every week, they secretly make a trade behind everyone's back. The city mayor gives up some of the refugees in exchange for food. Yun punches the man on the back of the head after his confession. They've been giving up young people in exchange for food this entire time. The man leads them to the city gate where the deal usually goes down, and they see several people in a cage while a brute from the Devourer clan looks over them. He tells the guard that brought them that the food will be thrown to the gate by dawn. Then he grabs the man by his neck and lifts him off the ground. The guard struggles for a moment, but it's no use, as the Devourer brute bites down on his neck and rips his head off his body in one tug. The guards are just refugees hired temporarily, and the city lord never leaves any witnesses alive. The man asks if he can go now that he has told them everything he knows, but Sachin has one more task for him. They take the man and tie him up over an empty street in an attempt to lure devourers toward the area. Their plan works, and his screams attract brutes nearby over to the empty place. To them, a person hanging alone in a dark place is just free food. One of the brutes asks why someone is hanging over in the middle of nowhere, but his companion doesn't care and just wants to get his hands on the free food. They rush up to the guard and punch him in the stomach, causing him to cough up blood and pass out. But the noise they made from their mad dash to get free food triggers Sachin's plan, as a loud voice comes down from above them. It's Yun, who has been the one dangling the man over the alleyway this whole time. She grabs one of the brutes, who fights for his life, while another one notices the glare of a sniper scope from a window above them. They finally realize that this whole thing was a planned ambush for them. Upstairs, Dwanya carefully aims a sniper rifle at the devourers in the alleyway. She remembers Sachin's words about how the devourers have mutated so much that their skulls are probably too hard for bullets to pierce, so the only way she can take them out is through multiple hits on one spot. She aims at one of the devourers, then fires 3 shots, managing to hit him straight on his forehead in 3 consecutive bursts. Meanwhile, the other devourer still fights against Yun's giant hand as it threatens to crush him. He doesn't notice Sachin casually walking up from behind until he feels a hand on his. It's too late. Our protagonist places a hand on the brute's head, crushing it instantly. Then they go on to take out the entire group. With the Devourer clan's main force taken out, Sachin and the 2 girls take all the food that was meant to go to the city lord for himself. Then they head to a house that's still in surprisingly good condition despite how unforgiving the apocalypse has been. Inside, he summons a bed from his inventory, as well as more food to create a feast for him to enjoy with his 2 girls. Dwan tells him that if he wants to own a settlement base, then he can just find a different place and conquer it as his own. There's no need for him to get mixed up in the mess between the city lord and the Devourer clan. While that is true, building a base takes a lot of time and effort, and he's not good at that sort of thing. For the actual management of the base and its welfare, he's going to need someone reliable who has experience working with that sort of thing, and that person just so happens to be inside Hang. As they talk, Yun appears wearing an outfit that doesn't leave much to the imagination. She sees both Dwanya and Sachin lying on the bed and asks why they decided to start without her. Sachin lays down on the bed as the 2 girls climb around him, ready to fool around. Thanks to him, they have been able to live like humans since the beginning of the apocalypse, so tonight they plan to return the favor and serve him well. While the 3 of them get freaky in the ruined city, the guards from the safe zone eventually find the hanging corpse of the man that Suchin used as bait. The city lord Jang mistakenly takes that to mean that the deal with the Devourers went wrong, and he rushes to the Devourer clan to find out what happened. He asks the Devourer leader what happened, but the mutated man asks him the same question. In the aftermath of his deal, he lost 3 of his warriors, meaning that they weren't the cause of the attack. Despite that, the Devourer leader demands that they double the number of people they send over as compensation for their losses. If he can't do that, then his deal with the Devourers will be cancelled, and they will attack his precious settlement. The city lord agrees to his demands. Suchin decides to burst into the party and make his presence known. Our protagonist has seen everything he needs to see, and it looks to him like the city lord doesn't even bat an eye while trading with other people's lives. The Devourers surround Suchin once they realize that he's the one who killed the 3 Devourers sent to retrieve the people. They have no idea how he managed to kill 3 of their own, but now that he has stepped onto their base, there's no escape for him. City Lord Jang calmly leaves the area before things get violent. As far as he is concerned, Suchin might as well be dead for stepping into the Devourer clan's home territory. He rushes back to the safe zone to try and wrap things up quickly before it turns into a mess that he can't handle. He goes back to the safe zone and announces to everyone that there is a traitor in their base. He points the blame at the outsiders that Suchin brought over and accuses them of pretending to be doctors so they can infiltrate the base. He claims that in reality, they were secretly kidnapping refugees to trade with the Devourers for food. Since Suchin ruined his plans, he has to be ruthless to make sure that no one goes against him again. The people in the settlement immediately turn their angry eyes towards Suchin's group. They prepare to attack and kill them, but a loud voice stops everything before a riot starts. It's General Gay, and behind him are Bi Chang and her brother. He comes in to defend Suchin from what he knows. Our protagonist is a trustworthy man who has proven to be capable on multiple occasions. Since Suchin brought them here himself, then they shouldn't be the problem. The city lord continues his accusations, saying that words alone cannot defend them. If he wants to show that they aren't traitors, then he has to prove it. A voice calls out from the top of a building above the settlement. It's Suchin, and he claims that he can prove his own innocence. He brought the Devourer clan leader with him and asked the badly beaten mutant to explain the situation by himself. The clan leader confesses that City Lord Jang is the one who has been making the deals with him this entire time. The crowd turns angrily to the city lord, now that they realize that the man they've been supporting was the real monster this entire time. Shaon tries one more time to convince them that Suchin is working with Devourers to frame him, but General Jie approaches the man and punches him in the face for his crimes. Now that the truth has been revealed, Jang stops pretending about the situation and laughs menacingly as he reveals that he really is the one who has been exchanging people with the Devourer clan. But now it's the apocalypse, and all the places with supplies have already been taken over by the Devourers. They are just waiting for others to fall into their traps. As long as he keeps sacrificing a few lives that he sees as worthless, then he's doing a good thing in saving people. As far as he sees it, they should all be grateful to him for keeping them alive. After all, even Captain Gale, who's acting so righteous, also ate the food that he brought back from the Devourers, so nobody has any right to judge him. Well, that's what he thinks, but Suchin's fist begs to differ. After a sharp right hook to the face, Suchin tells the man that he's a coward. In a world where the strong prey on the weak, trading lives for food isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's a coward's choice that makes him no different from the Devourers. With the former lord rightfully knocked out, Suchin turns to General Jie and makes him an offer. He offers to build a place that truly belongs to humanity and civilization. In his previous life, he once traversed over the ruins and eventually reached a safe haven that was on its way to becoming a utopian base. In the apocalypse, there were no shackles of class, and nobody cried of hunger. Everyone was well fed, and they all had peace of mind. All this came from its creator, Jiayue. But for now, he's only a deputy under the current city lord. In his past life, it wasn't until he discovered the dark side of the base that he decided to leave and build his own. All Suchin did was make things happen a little earlier. However, the other soldiers had their reservations about the whole plan. Even though building a base from scratch is way too hard, and if they want to do things their own way, then they can't live under someone else's roof. They have to establish a new base by themselves if they want to survive on their own. The city lord laughs at their plans of building a new base outside the safe zone of his city. Beasts run rampant and zombies are everywhere. There's no guarantee of basic food and safety. Leaving his safe zone would be a surefire way of sending people to their deaths. The crippled lord's son advises his father to let them leave. If they want to go, they'll eventually come crawling back once they've suffered enough. The other survivors also start to doubt if they can survive outside of the city lord's safe zone. If they don't want to die, then they have to take their chances, staying with the coward, but at least they will get to live. Lord feeds into their fears and tells the people that if anyone believes in their delusions, they can leave. But if they starve to death in the wasteland, then he won't be blamed for anything. However, if the only problem is food, then Sachin has the answer to all of their problems. After all, he was able to bring out the Devourer clan's leader so easily, and he has already made a name for himself as a powerful ability user. For someone like him, providing food should be easy. The Lord's son notices how all the survivors are starting to side with Sachin, and he angrily asks the man if he thinks he's some kind of savior. As far as he's concerned, our protagonist is doing all of this just to get attention. There's no way he even knows how much supplies a base needs. Sachin estimates that even though his supplies aren't much, they are probably enough to support about 2,000 people for a month or so. Those numbers sound suspiciously similar to the amount that the city lord has in his warehouse. Just where could he have gotten those supplies? Meanwhile, at that very warehouse, Dua and Yun work together to take out the guards who are monitoring the supplies. Yun uses her giant size to overwhelm them, while Dua provides sniper support. With the warehouse completely emptied, Sachin tells General Ga to hurry up and make a decision. He can either work with Sachin or stay with the traitorous city lord. With the options laid out in front of him, the decision on what to do isn't hard for General Ga. In this current settlement, people have had to deal with no proper clothing while also being constantly bullied. Now he learns that they have all been treated like livestock and sold to the Devourers. Captain Ga decides that he cannot stay in a place like this for another second. He decides to join forces with Sachin and establish a new base. Then he tells the crowd that anyone willing to leave with him can step forward so they can build a base where they can live in dignity. Bei Kong and her brother call their troops together and stand behind their captain. These were supposed to be the city lord's army, but after his betrayal, they are now only loyal to Captain Ga. He orders the few soldiers that are still loyal to the city lord to point their weapons at Captain Ga and his men. The lord's son menacingly points a gun at Sachin and fires rapidly. If our protagonist had never shown up with his people and his plans, then his leg would never have been crippled. Sachin takes the opportunity to rush over and grab the younger man by the throat. He tells City Lord Jang to order his men to drop their weapons, otherwise, he'll snap the boy's neck. Not wanting to lose his only child, Jang calls off the attack. Sachin tells the captain to take his people and the refugees away. Our protagonist will personally handle things from here. Captain Ga agrees to the plan and tells him that they will all be waiting for him at Shanyun University. With everyone gone, the city lord asks Sachin to release his sons so they can both take a step back and talk it out. That is simply a plan to get Sachin standing alone so that a sniper stationed on the roof of an opposite building can take him out. Our protagonist sees through that and orders Dua to take out the sniper. In a second, the sniper's head pops like a balloon. With the sniper dead, Sachin finally lets go of the city lord's son. But right as the father catches his son, he notices a grenade in the younger man's mouth just before it explodes. Sachin asks Lord Jang how human flesh tastes. Jang barely has a second to respond before the bomb explodes, killing his son and leaving him shirtless and angry. That confirms Sachin's suspicions from his past life. The former city lord Jang Zainu is a devourer hiding among humans. He's a level 2 devourer, which means he's too much trouble for Sachin to take on right now. But next time, he won't be so lucky. Several days pass. After General Ga leaves with his new followers to form a new settlement, a raid team storms into a warehouse ready to gather up all the supplies they heard would be inside. Except instead of the swarms of devourers that they expected to be there, all they find are corpses scattered along the ground. It looks like all the devourers have already been killed. The soldiers walk up to the supply truck. Despite looking like it has been driven through the desert, its gas tank is full. It has more than enough fuel to drive all of them back to the new base. Sachin wasn't lying when he told them that there was a truckload of supplies in the building. Captain Sun is disappointed that there wasn't a big fight like he was expecting. This mission is too easy for someone like him and is nothing but a complete waste of time. One of the soldiers tells Sun that the general gave the more important missions to Sachin, even though those important tasks used to belong to him. That ticks the large man off, but he's sure that Sachin is just a pretty boy with no skills. There's no way he will be able to compete with a trained soldier like him for credit. Back at the new base, Yun wonders why Captain Sun hasn't returned yet, despite the fact that all the devourers in the warehouse were killed by Sachin a long time ago. All they had to do was get to the supermarket and drive the truck back. Even someone as brain-rotted as Captain Sun can handle that. Yun isn't worried about him at all. She's more concerned about the medical care of the refugees that Sachin tasked them with. As they're talking, Duya notices the truck driving back to the base. She advises Yun to shrink down since once they get close, it'll be hard to use her mental power to cloak her size. Captain Sun reports back to General Ga, who's managing the base, that the supplies have been secured and delivered. The base can now have food. The few survivors nearby hear that Sachin's advice about the trucks was real, and they start to praise him. There were doubts on if he would actually be able to solve their food problem, but it looks like they didn't have to doubt him at all. The more they mention Sachin, the more upset Captain Sun becomes. He convinces himself that all the pretty boy is doing is brainwashing people. Eventually, he'll slip up, and all the fame will go back to the one who deserves it. Suddenly, one of the soldiers rushes over and reports that there are signs of devourer tribe activity near a hospital to the south. It looks like it's a tribe of a few dozen, and they look ready to attack. Captain Sun smirks, knowing that this is his opportunity to show people who the real protector is. Meanwhile, Sachin is still out on his mission with Bichang and Xiaofang. Their plan is to raid a military base near their base. The entrance has long since been flooded and has become a death trap full of mutated corpses. Even if they manage to get in, there are only 3 of them, and they won't be able to carry all the supplies out with them. Sachin tells them not to worry about that for now. All they need to do is take him to the armory. Baan agrees and decides to personally bring him there. After all, she has been to the base before. But first, to get there, they need a vehicle. Sachin uses his space ability to summon his car. The 2 soldiers almost panic at how random his ability is. He tells them to stop talking and get in the car so they can get there in time. Then they cruise through the empty streets towards the military base. At the military base, some of Zhang Jianu's men work to drain the large pool of water covering the base's entrance. No matter how much water they pump though, it never seems to be enough. The leader of the team tells the rest to go and find a few useless items from their storage and throw them into the water as bait for the water ghouls. Since the city supplies have mysteriously disappeared, if they don't bring something back, then they are as good as dead. The men grab some hostages and throw them into the water filled with water ghouls. The plan works, and the ghouls get lured to the surface, which means someone can dive in to check the place out. The leader tells his men that whoever goes down to pry open the door will be rewarded with a woman by the city lord once they get back. One of the men steps up to take on the task. Before the apocalypse, he had no money and no woman, so now that the apocalypse is in full swing, he has to take any chance he has to make it ahead in life. His courage motivates the others to start diving too. Meanwhile, Xiaong watches the men as they try to get into the military base. It seems like Zhang Jianu has set his eyes on the base's supplies and weapons as well. Luckily, Beikong knows another way around that can avoid the city lord's army, but they will have to dive underwater. Sachin accepts the idea, and the 3 of them dive into the ghoul-infested waters to try and reach their target. As they swim through the dark water, Baekong notices several eyes watching them from deeper in the pool. It's the water ghouls, and the shock of seeing them causes her to gasp and lose her last bit of air. Suchin pulls her close and calms her down. Then he kisses her, transferring some oxygen into her mouth. That manages to save her from drowning. But the water ghouls take the opportunity to attack them while they're down. Suchin uses his ability to stop them before they can attack, and they all stop dead in their tracks, almost like they've been hypnotized. His eyes glow red, and Baekong realizes that he is somehow controlling all the water ghouls with one of his abilities. The ability wears off, and some of the ghouls start trying to attack them again. Suchin manages to hold a few of them and tells Bae and Shan to escape while he handles them. They rush to the surface and manage to make it out of the floodwaters into the military base. With the number of abilities Suchin has, they start to wonder if he's human. As several bodies start floating up from the water, our protagonist wipes them out. They wonder how many abilities he has that they don't even know about. After taking out all the ghouls, Suchin emerges from the water completely unharmed. After taking out all the water ghouls, one of them managed to drop a white core, which has a low drop rate in monsters. Getting a white core in such a short time is usually a miracle, but Suchin doesn't seem satisfied. Although a white core doesn't grant new abilities, it can strengthen old ones, making him even stronger than he already is. As they talk, two yellow eyes watch them menacingly from a distance. The silhouette looks like a cat, and it seems particularly interested in the crystal Suchin is holding. It leaps out as soon as he's distracted and snatches the crystal from his hand before he can react. Why is a cat even in the military base in the first place? The base probably had cats to control any rat problems they had, and one must have survived the apocalypse by staying trapped in the base. The feline has dark black fur and glowing stripe patterns all over its body with bright yellow eyes. The kitty is quite impressive since it managed to snatch the core from Suchin's hand before he could even react. Suchin angrily but calmly tries to offer the little guy some super fish snacks and hope that it will trade that for the white core. However, the cat leaps up and manages to snatch the snacks from his hand before running deeper into the base with both its prizes. It looks like the great and powerful Suchin has been outwitted by a cat twice in the space of a minute. Anything that survives in the apocalypse can't be an ordinary creature, and there definitely seems to be something special about that cat. They keep walking through the base and eventually find a lever that reactivates the electricity in the base. Thankfully, the power systems are still operational despite how long they've been abandoned. Before the Great Flood, the survivors evacuated in a hurry, which means there was no way they had time to take all their supplies with them. They finally arrive in the base's arsenal, and there's enough weapons to arm a force of up to 500 people. Xiao Fang figures that if they can find a tank, then they might even be able to arm 1,000 people. Baekong warns him to be careful as he runs off to find a tank. The storage is full of things they will definitely be needing, but the problem now is how to get everything back to the base. The city lord's troops could show up at any moment, and going back to the safe zone for reinforcements is out of the question. A loud rumbling noise drags them out of their thoughts. Xiaong found a tank, but unfortunately, something else found him. It's a large mutated monster that almost looks like a giant dog. It's chasing Xiaofang, who is desperately driving away in his tank. The monster shoots a laser from its snout, and it hits the tank dead on. The panicking soldier asks Suchin to do something since if it blows up the armory, then they will probably get blown up along with it. Suchin activates his space ability and stores everything from the warehouse into his pocket dimension in a matter of seconds. The warehouse is cleaned out. As Xiang drives up to them, he asks if Suchin can store the monster in his space. But unfortunately, the space only works on inorganic material. Living mutated creatures can't be stored in it, meaning they have to find another way to take care of the monster. Baekong decides to step up to the occasion and lure the monster away while Suchin and Xiang retreat. That's a reasonably stupid idea for Suchin, and he grabs her instead and carries her over to the tank. Baekong tries to protest and tells him that since the supplies are in his space, then he has to make it back to the base safely. As they're talking, the monster rushes up to them and charges up another blast. Suchin manages to dodge out of the way, but the tank isn't so lucky and gets blasted head-on. Suchin tells her to stop wasting time and to go check on Xiao Fang while he deals with the monster. She runs off but orders him not to die on her. Now that he's alone with the monster, he takes a good look at it one more time. He doesn't remember hearing about a mutated beast like it in the area during his last life. That doesn't matter though, because its crystal core will belong to him regardless. It looks like that's all we have time for now, but I'll keep you all updated if anything new happens. I'm dying to see what awesome methods Suchin is going to use to take out this monster, and is Xiaong even still alive?